Hey there, EB here for our weekly update of Anything But Bland. Very exciting times for a lot of people in our country. We have the start of the new year. Can't even believe that it's already halfway through January. We're going to have the inauguration on Monday. President Trump is going to become the 47th president of the United States, first president since Grover Cleveland to serve two terms non-consecutively. Biden is on the way out. I think he's going out with a whimper kind of way and not going out as a lion. He's doing some things that are going to make it difficult for President Trump when he comes in, for some of the executive orders that he's going to do on Monday, which is going to be probably close to 50 from what we're hearing. But he gave a speech, his final speech, I believe it was on Wednesday night. It was about 18 minutes long. You know, depending on what side of the aisle you're on, it was either well received by the Democratic supporters or not received at all by Trump supporters or the MAGA supporters. I used the term, "Hey, Candy, nice to see you," Candy Brigman Jones, because there really isn't much of a Republican Party left. It's a MAGA party. And so Biden talked about what he saw, you know, what to be weary of in the next 4 years. He believes, and many people do believe, that we're heading towards a type of oligarchy where there are going to be billionaires who are going to have the ear of the president of the United States, both from a policy standpoint and doing some business, you know, with the president and on a private basis. We had the emoluments clause issues in his first term, which talk about the conflicts of interest that the president of the United States can be in, and the Supreme Court didn't want to address it. So Trump is free basically to do business deals that benefit him privately and individually, as opposed to having a blind trust usually run your business interests. He hasn't divested himself, and he makes a lot of business decisions for his family in his presidential capacity. And we already know that there's immunity for many things based on the Supreme Court decision last June. So it's going to be an interesting time. I do believe we're going to have a kind of technological sector oligarchy type of situation, given the influence that Elon Musk, that Vivek Ramaswamy, and other tech billionaires, whether it's now Bezos, who is totally over into the Trump camp and the donations that they're making, Mark Zuckerberg. They're doing no third-party verification whatsoever on these sites. Now, Meta is not going to do anything. So it's basically up to the listener to try to determine what is real and what is propaganda, what is fake news. So it's going to be really a wild, wild west out there on the internet going forward. But Biden tried to talk about his achievements, and some of it got muted because there was an announcement, thankfully, that there is going to be a ceasefire starting on Sunday, where Israel and Hamas are not going to hopefully shoot at each other anymore. There's going to be a release of 30 of the hostages from October 7th. I think some living, and then obviously a return of some of the dead bodies. There's going to be at least 1,000 Palestinian prisoners released. And so we'll see how that holds. Last night, the defense minister approved it. It's going to have to go to the full Knesset governing body of Israel on Saturday, and they're expected to pass it as well. There are some hardliners in the government that are going to resign if the ceasefire goes in effect. So the big thing was that this is something that Biden had on the table since April and couldn't bring it home. The terms that are agreed to are basically what have been proposed since April of this year. The fact that Trump, there was a coordination between the Biden and the Trump teams that because Trump's going to have to enforce some of the obligations on the United States part. I thought it was great that there was a working together, but egos get in the way. And of course, Joe Biden couldn't give any credit to Donald Trump when he was asked after his speech, um, you know, does he thank the Trump administration for this? And he said, is that a joke? And of course, Trump said, I'm totally responsible for this. Uh, it wouldn't have happened without me. And I do agree. It wouldn't have happened without him forcefully saying to both Israel and to Hamas, you better let the hostages out before I take office or all hell's going to break loose. And I do believe he has a bully pulpit, and I do believe that the world is really worried about that bully pulpit, and they should be. Um, he, the world is moving towards more conservative governments everywhere. Canada, all throughout Europe, Italy, Greece, all everywhere. They're moving towards conservative leaders, and in England as well, as opposed to more liberal or Labor Party type of governing bodies. So I think it's a tremendous victory for Donald Trump. It's great for Israel. I think Israel has decimated Hamas. They've decimated Hezbollah. The Houthis, excuse me, have said that they're going to stop bombing from Yemen and not bomb the Straits of Hormuz for cargo ships that they've been doing. And then we can go back to using the Suez Canal instead of going around the Horn of Africa, so that there's no bombing or pirates coming on ship. I mean, Israel's going to take out the Houthis soon. So that's very interesting. So we've had some of the Senate advising consent on Trump's cabinet picks. I'll end with Pete Hegseth because I think that's the most contentious one. Yesterday, Marco Rubio went. He is absolutely going to be approved. He's a senator. He has foreign policy chops. He is going to be, I think, a good Secretary of State. He is weary of Russia. He is weary of China, all the things that traditional Republicans hold near and dear to their heart. So I think he, as a Republican, was a very good pick and does have the foreign policy chops. Scott Bessent, who's a billionaire and who's going to be the new Treasury Secretary, went before the Senate yesterday. He advocated that taxes need to be cut. Well, you don't cut taxes when there's a hot economy, and there is a hot economy right now. That's going to cause inflation and prices to go up, and especially if there is going to be tariffs, it's going to cause inflation. So let's see if indeed the tax cuts go forward. He's going to go through smoothly. Pam Bondi, who was the Attorney General pick from Florida, she was the former Attorney General of Florida. She is very qualified. I think that she has some skeletons in her background. She was promoting the trope of Trump winning the election. Pennsylvania was rigged and there was no proof, but she was certainly held her own in front of the Senate, and there's no question she's going to get approved. I believe almost all of them, or probably all of them. The only one that's really in jeopardy are probably Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard, but I think everybody's going to be approved. Today, Kristi Noem, the former governor of South Dakota, she's going to be approved as an national intelligence officer. She's, these are your picks. The president is entitled to their picks when they win. So I think that she's going to go through and she's going to get skated. 53 Republicans are going to vote for her. So the real issue, though, is Pete Hegseth. What you're seeing now is very combative exchanges between a nominee and the Senate, regardless of party. Pete Hegseth is certainly a soldier that should be commended, somebody who served our nation proudly, tough man, reservist, but he is not qualified to run the Department of Defense, which is really the biggest bureaucracy in the world. He has zero managerial experience. Being a Fox News weekend host doesn't qualify you for anything. some of his beliefs about women and serving in the military are antiquated, I think are wrong. He's now trying to backtrack that, saying that we need to have certain standards, and if they meet it, then that'll be fine. But he has definitively said a number of times that women don't belong in battle. Tell that to Tammy Duckworth, the senator from Illinois, who lost both of her legs as a helicopter pilot. And there's some pretty badass women Army Rangers. No women Navy SEALs, though. That has not happened yet. Everything to him was, his answers were fake news. Even when there were women who put their names on the affidavits about some of the things he did, even though there were employees from the veterans nonprofits that he was chairman of who put on, and even though some of the names from Fox News said that he showed up to parties drunk, everything was misinformation. He never indicated that if an illegal order was given to him by Donald Trump, that he would not comply with it. He kept on saying these are hypotheticals. Donald Trump's never going to give me an illegal order. Trump wants combative nominees, wants them to be caustic, disrespectful to the process. That's what gets his juices flowing, gets his rocks off, so to speak. Hegseth, to me, is the quintessential womanizer. The fact that he has to make a pledge not to drink alcohol tells me that all I need to know about him. He actually wouldn't acknowledge that if he showed up drunk, that disqualifies him. You know, his answer, one of the senators said, you know how many senators, come back late at night to vote and are drunk? It's not the same thing. That doesn't condone what the senators do, but it's not the same thing. So I think he will be appointed. Joni Ernst was the one. If she fell off, then Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins would fall behind her. And then we'd get close to possibly a 50-50 vote with J.D. Vance, the vice president, breaking the tie break. We're starting to see some real cat and mouse games being played. I think it was wrong that Kamala Harris did not invite the Harris, J.D. Vance and his wife and their children to the Naval Observatory where the VP resides. It's a beautiful home, but it's certainly not a childproof home. And J.D. Vance's wife wanted to see the house to determine how to childproof it because they have a 2-year-old, I think a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. I thought that was petty on her part that she wouldn't have her there. Obviously, there's some sniping going on now between Melania Trump and Michelle Obama. She claims that they were not welcome in the White House by, after the Obama administration. There were some things that were said. Look, Michelle Obama is not coming to the inauguration. Big deal, okay? Should she come? It's up to her. I believe if you're not an elected official, you don't have to come. Her husband should come. He's the former president of the United States. I believe all presidents should come. I believe all House members and Senate should come, even when your adversary or your opponent is getting inaugurated. I do not think it's right that Nancy Pelosi is not going to the inauguration. She's an elected official. Richard Blumenthal, who's a senator from Connecticut, said yesterday morning, while he doesn't agree with Donald Trump on basically anything, he said, I owe it to my constituents, all of my constituents, that I show up because I'm an elected official. So Michelle Obama, I think she carries a grudge, which she should. Donald Trump ran as president in 2015 on the whole birther thing, that Obama was not born in the United States. He said some heinous things about Obama. That's her husband. She's not an elected official. She has every right to be pissed off. She has every right not to show up. But if you're an elected official, you better show up. Biden commuted 2,500 sentences this morning, so we're going to have to see if those commutations are worthy. Let's say if they're low-level marijuana charges, I have no problem But if there are some more serious crimes, I do have a problem with that. Again, we talked about the truce with Hamas. Um, the California wildfires are just the scariest thing. I received an email this morning that said that Mandy Moore's house, Anna Faris's house, Milo Ventimiglia, Paris Hilton, Jeff Bridges, Bazama St. John, Mel Gibson's, Billy Crystal, and Diane Warren's houses have all been burned down. They certainly have the money to rebuild. The real problem is what's going to happen now is the insurance industry, which obviously suffered with the assassination that took place between Luigi Mangione and the head of the health insurance company in New York City in the first part of December. I think that insurance companies are going to really have a problem. What happens is if you have this fire insurance, you get a replacement cost. You don't get to rebuild your house in accordance with, the prevailing market value standards. So you're going to get a replacement value that is less than what it's going to cost you to rebuild your home. More importantly, you still have a mortgage payment that you're going to have to make. And from what I understand, only some of the mortgage companies are giving a 3-month reprieve. Well, these people don't even have a home, and they're going to have to continue to pay on their mortgage. So that is a really big issue. I heard that the rental that these people are now paying are twice as much to try to rent an apartment than they were paying for the mortgage on their home. One of the things that is really disturbing is within the last couple of years, because of these fires and the forecasting by their actuarials that there's going to be this massive fire that took place over the past couple of weeks, they have canceled the fire insurance portion of the homeowner's policy. And that's really unfair because a lot of these homeowners paid for that coverage for years and years and years and years, and obviously they didn't get it, have to invoke it because there wasn't a fire that destroyed their house, but they paid for that coverage. And now some of them don't have fire insurance coverage at all. And the thought that you should lose your entire house and your entire life and all your mementos and photographs and memories of parents and children is hard enough. Then you're in a fight with an insurance company, a bad faith fight, on that they're not paying what should be paid to replace your house or rebuild it. I think is going to be a monumental litigation matters for years and years to come, class actions and other type of things that are going to come forward. I think that the government's going to have to foot a lot of this, and to do that, the bill for this, they're going to have to raise taxes, and that's going to be a big issue. One of the big things is a lot of the Republicans in the House are saying, look, if we allocate money to California, it's got to go to the right places. Well, certainly these Republicans, when Katrina happened, didn't put any strings on it, but I certainly do understand the concern. Is the money going to go to the right places? So this insurance fight is going to be a big, big fight coming up. And the fact that there are a lot of famous people that have lost their house, I think is going to help a lot of the victims because they have a bully pulpit and a Hollywood voice as well. This morning, as Tricia Beers just said, the Supreme Court upheld the ban on TikTok, and that they decided not to intercede and overturn the congressional ban. Part of the problem is TikTok's fun for all of us to see these videos, but the Chinese who own TikTok, a Chinese corporation, is accumulating a lot of personal and financial information on the people that subscribe to it and listen to it, and it creates a national security threat. And so, you remember Donald Trump was all for the TikTok ban, but now, because it was China, but now that he has a tech advisor of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, he is going to probably say that we shouldn't enforce the ban or delay enforcement of the ban. And I don't know whether he has the authority to do that by executive order or it's going to take a congressional act to repeal it. Wouldn't surprise me if Congress comes back and repeals it. He is being guided again by Elon Musk. One of the things earlier this week was they were talking about, should Elon Musk buy the TikTok from the Chinese? I think that would be a mistake. I think Elon Musk is getting entirely too powerful with his platform on X, with the alternative vehicles that he's now selling the government. His Teslas are going to become government vehicles, as well as the SpaceX program. I'm really concerned that he's becoming a true oligarch, both throughout the world. If he buys it, it does bother me because he is a pro-China guy. He's not an anti-China guy. I think the Democrats made a strategic mistake in letting him migrate over from being a Democrat to a MAGA. He gave $250 million to Trump, which could have gone to the Democrats, and having him on their side may have proved differently in the election. It was the dumbest move in the world to let him become part of the Trump camp. So, TikTok is going to be an interesting thing going forward on whether Trump is going to support the ban. Biden decided that he's not going to enforce it, the ban, even though the Supreme Court ruled this morning. He's going to leave this for President Trump. So this is going to be a big issue that Trump is going to deal with. We're starting to see the Greenland issue become a real issue that they want to have discussions about, not necessarily selling Greenland and not necessarily encouraging Trump to become imperialistic and take Greenland, but expanding the United States military presence. We do have a base there, but expanding it so that we have security. Real interesting. Trump is also threatening the Panama Canal as well as Canada. So it's going to be an interesting first 90 days. Trump's got the bully pulpit. He's got the momentum. But real soon, he's going to become a lame duck within, I'd say, the first year. So a lot's going to get done. What is interesting is Mike Turner, who was a career CIA guy, an amazing amount of intelligence for intelligence issues, was removed as the Republican off the Intelligence Committee. It's one of the blue ribbon select committees. It's a select committee. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, removed him as the chairperson and named somebody else, I think from either Arkansas or Louisiana. There's a lot of Republicans that are very upset about that. He was a guy that didn't like China. He's a guy that didn't like what Russia did in Ukraine. All these things that, maybe Donald Trump didn't like. So the word on the street is that Trump is the one that orchestrated his removal. I don't think you're going to be able to tie a direct phone call, but I definitely think that Trump had a hand in this and probably told some of his representatives who got to Mike Johnson. Very, very rare that a Speaker of a House would terminate the chairmanship of his own party. So that's a big thing. The real issue that we're seeing is, how far is Congress going to capitulate to what President Trump wants? Are they going to do everything that he wants? That is yet to be seen. We'll see what happens with with Russia and Ukraine. But I do think there's going to be a break where all Congress is not going to constantly fall behind President Trump. Interesting, Baldini sued Blake Lively yesterday for $400 million and Ryan Reynolds, and brought in Taylor Swift as mentioning in this lawsuit. He is going full blast at them on a $400 million defamation lawsuit. And I think this is going to split Hollywood right down the middle. There are some bad facts, I think, on the Lively side, where, she was in agreement with a lot of the things that he was doing in the movie. But we're going to see how this is going to play out. But I think you're going to see a lot of people have to, put their support in one camp or the other. Um, Ohio State is going to play Notre Dame in the National Football Championship, the NCAA, first 12 team playoff. I think it's going to be a great game on Monday night. I think Ohio State's going to win. They have 15 five-star players. They're just playing perfectly in this playoff series. I think it's still going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Interesting that there are no SEC teams in this playoff series, but I do think it's going to be great. The NFL playoffs have been kind of blowouts. The Eagles are going to have to play the Rams. Rams are the hottest team in the NFL. They had 9 sacks on Sunday against Minnesota. Matthew Stafford's an amazing postseason quarterback. So I think they have the absolute best coach in the NFL other than Andy Reid and Sean McVay. And that's going to be interesting. I think the difference for the Baltimore Ravens is King Derrick Henry as a running back. It takes the pressure off Lamar Jackson. Is this the year for Josh Allen to get over the hump and beat Kansas City? We shall see. I think Kansas City is going to skate by the Texans on Sunday. So I think it's great. Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker, who was with the Milwaukee Brewers as an announcer, died at 90 years old. Funny guy, was always on the light beer Miller commercials. So that's an interesting thing. I want to talk a little bit about the movie Bob Dylan's, kind of biopic from 1961 and 1965. It's called A Complete Unknown. I've seen it twice. Timothy Chalamet did an amazing job showing Dylan as really an iconoclast, kind of edgy kind of guy, not warm, certainly selfish as selfish can be. Good morning, Leah. How you doing? Leah Spence. I thought he did an amazing job singing. There was this tension between the traditional folk singers who want you to do an acoustic guitar versus, an artist who wants to mature and, try new genre, try the electric guitar, put up backup singers, different type of musical instruments. And I think the tension between him and those that controlled the folk community, especially Joan Baez, the relationship with him and her should have been explored more. She did get a tremendous benefit out of Bob Dylan. She took a lot of his songs, and so that was an interesting thing. The whole Woody Guthrie component was just brilliant. And of course, the songs that were played, from, the times they are changing, blowing in the wind, Rolling Stone, Blood on the Track songs. I'm not going to work for Maggie's Farm no more. If you're a Dylan devotee like I am, Bob Dylan devotee, you would be mesmerized throughout that movie. So really enjoyed it. We're watching a couple new series right now. The Pit, we just finished Shogun. We're watching Lincoln Lawyer season 3 and The Agency, all good series. So that's what we have. Everybody have a great weekend. I have nothing else to add. Let's just see what the inauguration brings on Monday. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about next week about the executive orders. But we owe it to our country to support President Trump, whether you're obviously a supporter, you will. But if you didn't vote for him, we want the best for him, because if he does a good job, it will benefit us. I always say you can't trip over what's behind you. So we can't replay what the last 4 years would have been, should have been, what the election was and wasn't. You can't change history. You can't change the past. You can only change what's in front of you. And let's not trip over anthills. If we're going to trip over a mountain. So with that said, everybody have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening.